welcome everyone in this second video tutorial on chapter conservation of plants and animals. In previous video tutorial, we already have done about importance of biodiversity, loss of biodiversity. We have a discussion about we had a discussion about deforestation, consequences of deforestation, poaching, pollution, natural disasters. Okay, and how things are going on, why we need this wildlife, why earth need plants and animals. Obviously we are not needed on earth. Earth needs these plants and animals to survive. We are just a virus for the earth in the current situation, but still we are trying to find adjust ourselves in the nature of the or you can say on earth we are trying to adjust ourselves. So in previous we had fauna and flora discussion, that what is fauna and what is flora. Now in this video tutorial we will have a discussion on few topics, that is extinction of species or extinct species, then endemic species, then red data book, and the precautions or the work or the laws which are used by government in India to preserve the wildlife, be it plants or animals. Thank you.
Okay, the first topic which we have here is how does deforestation cause droughts and reduction in rainfall? Basically, when trees are cut down, the percentage of carbon dioxide is going to increase and it is going to cause the global warming. Moreover, the plants absorb water from the soil and release it through transpiration. Now, you are big enough to know what is transpiration. Transpiration is the process in which plants give out water vapors when they are exchanging it with oxygen or carbon dioxide. You know about guard cells at stomata. Once they open up, they release water vapors. To open the gates, they have to transfer this water. This water, when transferred, gates are opened and one molecule of carbon dioxide can enter inside or one molecule of oxygen can get outside. So every time they open, they release water vapors. So this is transpiration. So when transpiration occurs, water vapors come in the atmosphere. These water vapors are responsible for condensation to form clouds, and hence we are able to get rain. No trees means no transpiration. No transpiration means no rain. It is this moisture in the air which eventually turns into clouds and returns to earth as a rainfall. Deforestation and increase in temperature on earth disturb the water cycle, which leads to a reduction in rainfall and droughts, sukha. Next is how does deforestation affects the quality of soil? You all are aware about humus. Humus is provided by dead plants and animals. But if there are no plants and no animals, then from where you are going to get this humus? The forest adds humus to the top layer of the soil. Their roots hold the soil together and allow the surface water to seep into the soil. Due to deforestation, the soil erosion takes place. Physical properties of the soil changes and it becomes less fertile. The water holding capacity of soil decrease, which may lead to floods. You might have seen multiple videos of Rajasthan or Jaipur or Jodhpur where during the what happened in those places during floods. Even a very small rainfall change into a huge flood. Why? Because the sand is not at all capable of holding water. So when rainfall is there, soil is not able to hold the water, it will wash away, and hence it will give rise to the floods. As of now, you are aware about why floods occur so much in the desert area, but you should also know why landslides happen in on mountains. Every year or every week, I should say, you get a video on in news that landslide happened and roads are blocked in the mountainous areas. Why does this happen? This happen because of deforestation. Deforestation leads to desertification. What actually happens is, in mountains the soil is held by roots of the trees, but if trees are not there, the soil is not held by anything. So just simple wash of water or simple dash of water force sand soil to come downwards. it, Gravity does it work. Gravity just pulls it to the bottom, and with the soil, I should say the stone and the rocks, which are whatever are there, they also come down, and hence landslides happen. Okay, next topic is conservation of forest and wildlife. I can also correlate it with the topic conservation of biodiversity, which is available on page number 100 in your book. So what does this conservation of forest and wildlife means, or biodiversity means? To prevent deforestation and for the conservation of forest and wildlife, the government has implemented many rules, methods and policies. Obviously, you can't say that only by my or your effort forest or wildlife can be saved. A role of government and the authority has to be there. So government has now made multiple rules to preserve it. Amongst many steps, areas called sanctuaries, national park and biosphere reserves have been marked, where activities like plantation, cultivation, grazing, hunting, poaching, etc. are prohibited. Uh, According to book, only three steps are provided. First is afforestation, second is stop overgrazing, third is prevent forest fires. Yes, these three are must, but we can add up these plantation and hunting and poaching also in it. Okay, so the main purpose of it is to save it. So now you got the idea of what is wildlife conservation. So according to the definition of wildlife conservation is the practice of protecting endangered plant animal species and their habitats in an effort to maintain the ecological balance. In an effort to maintain the ecological balance. Here you should know this thing also. It is not written in your book. I was not able to find this in your book. Uh, the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Some acts are defined, like you say that your Article 19 are there are articles which are for your freedom, and there are articles which provide you your duties. So similarly, these are the acts which are only and only applicable on wildlife. Okay, so the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. What does it say? According to the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, wildlife includes any animal, bees, butterfly, crustacean, fish and moth, and aquatic or land vegetation which form part of any habitat. They have to be protected. They have to be protected. Yes, I am correct. You heard it right. Bees and butterfly also. Bees and butterfly are very necessary for cross pollination. Okay, in recent you can say in recent days, I don't remember the name of the place, but it's very near to in Ahmedabad, where this new Patel statue is was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. At that location on his birthday, he released numerous amounts of butterflies. That is a special area for butterflies only. Okay, if you visit there, you will be able to find that multiple species of butterflies are capped there, because yes, these species are also going becoming are facing the danger of extinction. So how does government conserve our forest and wildlife? To conserve our forest and wildlife, there are three main steps taken by government, or I should say these are three special areas. First is wildlife sanctuary, second is national park, third is biosphere reserve. So we will have a discussion on these three one by one. So first we have here is I should say wildlife sanctuary. And wildlife sanctuary, when we are talking about wildlife sanctuary, this is the protected area where animals can live in their natural habitat without any disturbance. These are the places where animal can live without any disturbance from any human or any other thing. So wildlife sanctuaries are reserved forest where wild animals are protected and provided with suitable living conditions. Okay, if suppose there is a drought going on in an area, so we can't leave these animals on their own. They need to be helped. So what government will do, government will make provisions and they will provide forest officers will provide water to these animals. Okay, so that's why I said that are protected and provided with suitable living conditions. These are the places where animals and their inhabitants are safe from any external disturbances with the very limited human activities. Unlike a zoo, animals in wildlife sanctuaries live in their natural habitat and are free to roam anywhere as they like. Understood? Because in zoo also food and water is provided to the animals by humans. Here also it is provided to the animals by humans, but here they are allowed to I should say here they are allowed to live by themselves and they are free to roam anywhere without any cages, not like zoo. Okay, these are the areas reserved for protection and giving suitable living conditions to the animals. Activities like hunting, poaching, capturing, etc. of animals is prohibited in these sanctuaries. Sanctuaries have given protection to many endangered species like black buck, white-eyed buck, elephant, golden cat, pink-headed duck, gharial, uh, marsh crocodile, python, rhinoceros, etc. Indian sanctuaries have unique landscape, broad level forest, mountain forest and bushlands in deltas of big rivers. Now, what people can do in wildlife sanctuaries are they can graze for livestock and collect firewood for or medicinal plants. Okay, yes, humans are allowed to go inside it, but not go inside in very deep inside it. Okay, they can graze their animals on the outskirts, as well as they can collect dead woods for their household purpose. And because we know that if it is a wild area, it is home to huge amount of medicinal plants, so they can be collected from there. And what things are which are prohibited are killing, poaching, obviously, and capturing animals. No animals are allowed to be captured. There are nearly 543 wildlife sanctuaries in India, which include as many as 50 tiger reserves, which focus on conservation of tiger. The tiger reserves under Project Tiger Jim Corbett was the first tiger reserve of India. It is situated in Uttarakhand and is also the oldest national park in India. Okay, and now we should move to the definition of national park. So, national park are the large forest reserves that attempt to preserve the entire ecosystem within the area, including the landscape, flora, fauna, and historic objects of the area. Now, the question arises, sir, what do you mean by historic objects? Historic objects means suppose some tribal area people are living down there, or some old, very extremely old temples are there. For example, you can take an example of Ajanta and Ellora caves, or they are inside the deep forest. So if something is there, that thing has to be also protected. So national park conclude all these things. Okay, so according to the book, the national park is a vast area of land and sometimes water protected by government for conservation of wildlife. Within this area, the wildlife lives in the habitat is in a protected environment. Cattle grazing or agricultural practices are also not allowed in this area. In centuries, it was allowed for cattle grazing, but here it is not allowed. No agricultural practice, nothing is allowed. The national parks are also promoted as tourism destinations to there, so that people can watch and observe wildlife in their natural habitats. Okay, just taking an example of Satpura National Park is the first reserve forest of India. Within this forest, you can find the finest Indian teak as well as rock shelters, which are evidence of prehistoric human life in the area. Okay. In notes, I have provided you an image of Panchmani Biosphere Reserve. Okay, there are total of 55 rock shelters in Panchmari Biosphere Reserve, which are also features rock paintings depicting figures of man fighting with animals, hunting scenes, dancing and playing musical instruments. Many tribals are still living in that area. Okay, so there are normally 104 national parks in India, 104 national parks in India. Most famous of them are Jim Corbett, Kaziranga, Gir Forest, Sundarban, Satpura, Sariska, Kanha, Ranthambore, etc. etc. Last but not least, Biosphere Reserve. So when we are talking about reserve, a biosphere reserve is an area which is rich in biodiversity, that is protected and conserved, and has plants and animal species of special, specific and environmental interest. The human communities that inhabit such areas are also protected. Such areas are developed to conserve biodiversity. Another aim of developing a biosphere reserve is to spread awareness to lead an eco-friendly life in adherence to biodiversity conservation. In the image which is available in the this slide or in your notes, you can find that a biosphere reserve has national park, wildlife sanctuaries, buffer zones, and many multiple zones inside a single area. Okay, so these are very large areas in which multiple things are there. Okay, so where here what we are talking about is there are 18 biosphere reserves in India. Okay, 18 biosphere reserves. Few of them are Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, Gulf of Mannar, Sundarbans Biosphere Reserve, Nanda Devi, Nokrek, Panchmadi, uh, Great Nicobar, etc. etc. These are there. So these are the important things. Okay. Okay, next what we have here is botanical garden. So botanical garden is a garden dedicated to conservation of plant species. It is only its focus is only on plant species. The main aim of such botanical gardens are collection of seeds, cultivation of plants, and display of plants with their botanical name. This is done to spread awareness about common and rare plant species. Botanical gardens work to revive endangered and extinct species of plants and trees. Another important aim of developing botanical gardens is to further the research in the related fields. Thus, it can also be said that in principle, the role of botanical garden is to maintain documented collections of living plants for purpose of scientific research, conservation, display, and education. Okay, to be precise, these botanical gardens are in even there are two botanical gardens in India, Delhi itself. These botanical gardens are the purpose is to help or find good variety of seeds also, cross pollination, and all these things are done to get a better flower or fruit or seed. These things are also done in these botanical gardens. Okay, previously you were only used to find that rose is of only red color, but now you can find that roses are of multiple colors. There is a you can find rose in blue color also, white, pink, yellow. These are also common. Okay, and a few days back I was reading, and a scientist was able to create a rose of black color also. So how they are able to do it? They are doing by research only. So all such research are limited to these botanical gardens. Next is biodiversity hotspots. A biodiversity hotspot is a biogeographic region that is both a significant reservoir of biodiversity and is threatened with destruction. In simple words, a biodiversity hotspot is an area rich in endemic flora and fauna, but that has been endangered by human activities. Such areas are rich in threatened, endangered, and endemic species. Okay, suppose your Bhadragarh is an area which is having a huge amount of endemic species. Okay, and because of the people living in the Bhadragarh, these species are getting disturbed and they are on the verge of extinction. So what government will do? They will just change this area into biodiversity hotspot. They will change it into hotspot. Now people will not be allowed, and researchers and scientists and all the forest officers will come here, and they will try to protect this area and the biodiversity inside this area. Next here is zoological park. Oh yes, it's zoo, which you know it by the name of zoo. So you know about zoo. Zoo is a place where animals and birds and multiple things are kept inside cages and displayed for public viewing. जनता को देखने के लिए इन्हें पिंजरे में बंद कर दिया जाता है. Instead of it, people should be caged and they should be allowed to roam free. So the purpose of such parks is to spread awareness and at the same time protect and care for animals. The zoological park are also breeding centers of animals that are endangered or extinct in the wild. A zoological park has the following activities to fulfill: to protect a breeding center for extinct in the wild species. For example, I will give you an example. Search for white tigers. Previously white tigers were in very huge amount, but now they can only be seen in cages. If you just simply uh, if you just allow white tiger to roam in any forest, he will be poached. That tiger will be killed the moment you just free it. Because of the white skin, people kill it and fulfill their needs. So that is the reason these white tigers are now only available in zoos in cages. So because they are not at all available in foreign, so they are on the verge of extinction. So these white tigers has to be breeded, and they are supplied on multiple spots in India as well as abroad, so that suppose due to any XYZ reason all the white tigers got dead in India, still some will be living in other parts of the country world. Okay. In this slide, I have tabulated the differences between the wildlife sanctuary, national park, and biosphere reserve. In these slides, you can find out what are the things and how they are different from each other. Okay, and you have to write this difference and you have to learn this difference. So here you can stop the video and write it down.